Hello summoners, and welcome to another episode of our community coaching series. Making good decisions is just as important as having clean mechanics, so today we're going to be looking over a series of games to go over some macro play. Remember to send in your replays for a chance to be featured in our next video, and there's a lot to cover in this one, so let's jump right in. In our first game, we'll be observing from the perspective of Jinx. In this game, the major issues here happened very early on. One big part of this game was the laning phase, where we missed a lot of farm. Part of this is because we didn't contest the wave push when we could have at level 1 and level 2. Jinx will easily outpush Twitch with her rocket form as well as her minigun form, and Lulu and Morgana will match each other. In terms of jungle pressure, Kayn isn't really the best at ganking before he changes forms, and if we were afraid of getting ganked or killed in lane, it's still not the best choice to concede priority by default. Playing too safe is also a mistake. If we are allowing our opponents to push for free, number 1, it makes it harder to farm, number 2, it can make our opponents poke us, and number 3, our opponents can take tower plating or roam and actually be there to contest objectives such as Scuttle Crab. There are cases where it's best to concede the push, like when they have an extremely aggressive jungler or when the matchup is just too dangerous to move up. Think of something like a Draven and Thresh or a Draven and Nami lane, but this isn't one of them, and it's not really the case. We gave our opponents way too much freedom here. We finally get a gank from our Kindred to relieve some pressure and to kill Twitch, but we make a poor choice with our wave management. An important thing to consider is how much time we have. We can't always push our lane out all the way because we might not be able to, or we might not have enough time to. Since this lane is already pushing into us, the best choice would be to either have Kindred push our wave with us or thin the wave and reset once our next wave reached. This is because Twitch's death timer was pretty short, but we end up overstaying. Then our Lulu gets caught out, and we die shortly after. Even if we hadn't died, Twitch is up about 20 farm. Naturally, Twitch will be stronger than us now, and we won't be able to contest any priority longer. 10 minutes in, Twitch has a 2k gold lead on us. We have just been farming in lane, but end up getting caught out by a bind. When we had a chance to back off, we tried to fight Twitch, but it's important to be reasonable about these decisions. Twitch is up a whole item on us, and we're already quite behind here, so it's not very realistic for us to win a fight. By this point, Twitch is far enough ahead that we can't do anything anymore, and we just have to pick up farm whenever we get the chance. His game plan here is to push the lane in and roam, and while we can follow, we'll miss farm and likely lose the fight anyway since he's stronger than us. We end up making a mistake here by following the rotation that everybody makes, because even though we do get a lucky kill on Morgana, we could have gotten more gold just by sitting bottom lane and pushing. This would have given us our minion farm, turret gold to help us get back into the game, and our decision here that just turns out to be okay, but the decision itself was quite poor. Remember, like we've said in other videos, we don't want to develop result-based thinking, because even if we made this play in several different games, we would more often be punished instead of rewarded. This game will be looking through the perspective of Thresh. The thing we want to note here is the importance of proper ward usage and creating windows to get those wards placed. Poor ward usage is a loss on two ends. Not only does it not give us much information, it then means that when we have the opportunities to place good ones, we won't have them up because we've wasted them. The lane starts with us getting pushed in because we had to leash and because naturally the enemy bot lane will push a bit faster than us early on. We get really impatient here. In this case, when we've already lost our ability to contest the wave push, we just have to accept that looking for trades isn't a good choice here because we'll take too much damage. Instead, we can let the turret help us push the wave back and wait for better opportunities. This nearly ruins our gank that's coming up, and if we were healthier, it would have been much easier for us to start off this gank with a flash flay. This is a ward that is really bad to place. When we complete our support item and have wards refreshed every time we go back to base, this spot is fine as a throwaway ward. It'll show us if the enemy support is in lane or not, and it'll let us know if they're trying to cheese us when we come back for our reset. However, when our wards are limited because we only have trinkets, we would be way better off holding onto it because the cooldown is so much longer. Since we're ahead now, we should be able to fight for priority and look to get more effective wards to push our lead instead of throwing them away like this. This ward also is not effective. We're able to see both enemy bot laners here, and since Graves is close by, we don't need to ward like this. Instead, we could go deeper into the jungle or just hold on to it for later. A minute and a half later, we are completely able to take lane priority, but don't have our ward ready. This would have given us a perfect chance to place a deep ward around the enemy blue buff, Gromp, or wolves, which would let us identify which side of the jungle the enemy Kayn is farming. While there may not be a visible impact like roaming for a kill, getting deep wards is a tactic that is much easier to pull off and also benefits your entire team. If you don't see the enemy jungler on a deep ward, you can assume that they are on the opposite side of the map. On the other hand, seeing them on the ward in the jungle gives you more opportunities to prepare for a gank and also inform your own jungle of counter gank opportunities. Now we're going to look at gameplay from the perspective of Kled. Overall, we're off to a very solid start in this game. We managed to get some help from Rek'Sai to help us get our lane rolling, and we managed to get a couple of solo kills in. Whenever we clear a wave before our opponents, this gives us a window of opportunity. Here, since we clear the next wave at the enemy turret, it's going to give us a lot of time to do something. On the previous push, we used this time window to take turret plating. With this one, we do a good job of taking Scuttle Crab, but we missed out on a good chance to get deep vision in the enemy jungle. We could have taken an extra second to place a ward in the same place we were just talking about earlier in the Thresh game. The same concepts apply no matter what role you play. Getting deep wards helps yourself and also your team, as it shows which side of the jungle the enemy jungler is on. Fast forward a little bit here and we make a series of poor decisions. We have every opponent on the map accounted for, minus the Caitlyn, who is unlikely to rotate to our lane. This was our first chance to take a turret, but instead we back off even though we are significantly ahead of our lane opponent. By taking the turret here, we can make plays elsewhere on the map while Kayle is trying to catch up, and by taking ours. Shortly after, we managed to get a good fight in and kill both the enemy top lane and jungle. Then we proceed to help our team take Herald. However, again, this is another opportunity for us just to push up. Echo makes the right play here, walking back mid to start pushing his lane. If Zed roams while Echo is pushing, Echo can just walk back and help, or push in the wave while Rek'Sai can back off away from Herald, wasting Zed's time. Once we see Zed match Echo in the mid lane, we have no reason to not just let him solo the Herald and take the first turret top. By breaking the turret, we can make a play somewhere else on the map, since we can then use the Herald to take down another lane's turret such as mid or bot lane. This would have given us momentum to eventually close out the game, as we could start making picks or forcing fights with our opponent's outer turrets already being down. In this game, we'll be looking at the gameplay from one of our users playing Lissandra. This is perfect for our topic today because she is not very mechanically intensive, but heavily relies on your decision making. In this game, we'll be talking about how simple decisions in lane limit our macro play options. The only thing we need to say here is that our goal is to be able to roam to side lanes and get them rolling because they are both strong late game champions. Our game starts off normally, but the first thing we look at here is how much we waste our flash. While it's obvious this is not good, it's the magnitude of this mistake that gets blown up even more because we're playing Lissandra. Having flash up allows us to have more leeway to escape ganks, so we can be more aggressive in pushing our lane. It also allows us to have way stronger playmaking potential. While we waste it, we're not using it proactively like we should be, and ultimately lose out on potential plays we could have made by having it up. After the gank, we have a health advantage over Akali because we now have potions while she used all of hers. She takes a bad trade here, giving up farm to take a trade that won't go well for her. We root her and trade back, but we make a big mistake here. We use our E, which is bad for two reasons. If we look at the map, we don't have any vision, and we just wasted our only escape since our flash is down. If Evelynn were to look for a gank here, we would be 100% dead, and then miss a wave because if they choose to push it in, we will get punished here. This was an unnecessary risk. We also didn't run teleport, which means we're going to run into mana issues. We need to use our ability sparingly until we have Lost Chapter or blue buff. Alternatively, if we have TP, we can spam our abilities to poke out our opponents, then TP back with full mana. Overall, the decision to use E hurts here, and it hurts our ultimate goal of roaming because we won't have enough mana to push out the lane for a reset, and it was just risky to do. We are now pushed under turret, low and with little mana. This makes it difficult to farm, and now Akali has complete wave control over us. This is bad because Lissandra is a champion who is very reliant on being able to take lane priority. She needs to be able to control the wave, that way she can roam proactively. Since we're in this situation, we have a lot to lose out of our tempo here, and we take a bad reset, delaying our level 6 power spike and also setting us behind the Akali. In the best case scenario, we would have been able to have enough mana and poke out Akali enough, that way we can dictate the reset ourselves. This way, by the time we finish recalling, Akali will be clearing out the minion wave as we pushed in, and it starts our recall when we're already on the way back to lane. We can then have the first push and then use this time to either get deep vision or roam to a side lane. There are a lot of random fights that break out as the game progresses, and ideally we'd be in a different situation by this point. We would have wanted our side laners to be a bit stronger because of our roams, and also for us to be a bit further ahead, that way we can be strong enough to contest pushing waves. By doing so, we can participate in more of those fights, be there faster, and lose less when we do eventually commit to them. Ultimately, we do get some good fights and get some kills, but we just can't win them cleanly enough to secure any objectives afterwards. Part of this is due to the fact that we ran barrier instead of teleport, but that isn't necessarily a wrong choice. What it means though is that we had to play more cleanly earlier on into the game and develop a kind of lead that teleport would not have been able to do so. Ultimately, again, we keep finding ourselves in positions where we need to be pushing waves, but cannot participate in any teamfights if we do. By making smarter choices consistently over several games, we are able to put ourselves in situations where we have more options, essentially more ways to possibly win our games. We went over a lot, so let's summarize what we talked about. When behind, following rotations is very rarely a good move. Instead, we want to do what we can to punish the roam by pushing in waves. This gets us some gold back and forces our opponents to have to succeed in their play, otherwise they have ultimately made a bad choice. Instead, rotations are better when we are the ones initiating them because we have the lane priority. We need to always remember the importance of pushing waves. There are so many scenarios where pushing our wave will benefit us, and it opens up opportunities to make small plays that eventually will lead to wins. Finally, deep wards are so important. They give us the information of where the jungler is and also where the jungler is not, both things that are important, and this information helps us as well as our teammates. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more of our content, and check out ProGuides.com today for all of these great courses helping you get better at League of Legends. We have courses made by your favorite pros such as Bunny Fufu, Hai, all of the guys that help you get better and that are established pros in the community.